September 19th, council meeting. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Alderman Santi,
Here.
Alderman Glad,
Here.
Alderman McClatchy.
Here.
Alderman Hardy.
Here.
Alderman Stratt,
Here.
Alderman Devine.
Here.
Alderman Miller is absent.
Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'm going to open up for public comment at this time. Zachary Daly. Don't yell at us, okay?
Hello.
Can you say your first and last name and your address for public record, okay?
Zachary Daly, 219 Beretta Court, Canton, Illinois, 60050. Is there anything else for me to do?
Nope, you can go ahead and continue. Do your statement.
So I am wanting to put a traffic signal at the intersection of Bull Valley Road and Crestwood Drive,
Okay.
nearby the railroad tracks. And the reason why is because there's been 3 to 4 accidents on there already, and a lot of people are annoyed for just waiting there just to turn left for people on Crestwood.
Anyway, all right. Did you talk to the chief by chance?
Yes, I have.
Was he nice?
Yes.
Yeah, I got him on a good day. Well, I don't.
Troy might have some.
Troy, you got something on that?
Yes, I'm sorry, getting to speak. I think that's a terrific idea. I actually have a close friend who was in a car accident there. So just so you know, that's the McHenry County route. They won't let us put a signal there.
Yes.
But one of the things that we are looking into doing is we have a long-term plan. When that road gets widened, we're gonna turn that intersection to a right-in, right-out only. And then we're gonna try and relocate all the traffic. You know that dead-end street on the Circle Road?
Crestwood?
Yes.
Yes.
So we're gonna send all the traffic out west and turn it around and try and put a signalized intersection at Kern Road. It's probably Coonan Drive.
So you're gonna try combining Crestwood with Coonan and make a 4-way intersection right there.
Yes,
Nice.
yes. So hopefully it'll happen. Hopefully it'll happen before you're behind the wheel. I'd like to see it before you're behind the wheel.
All right, awesome.
Very cool.
And that's just one block down, Coonan Drive,
Yes,
that's
I know
one
where
block,
Coonan is.
one block west of.
Yes, I know. Very good.
Awesome.
Hope
you run for
Is
alderman.
that all you got?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, if you don't mind, I'm gonna come and shake your hand. Just for you coming up here, it takes a lot. Thank you, Mary Beth. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Take care, all right?
Thank you.
All right, I expect you in this seat in about 10 years.
Thank you.
All right, any other public comment?
Or in this seat.
More money in this seat.
No.
Any other public comment this evening? No? All right, moving on to the consent agenda, items 5A and then 5C through G. We have removed 5B from the agenda. That's gonna be going to planning and zoning and then coming back for city council vote, okay? So once again, 5A and then 5C through G. Alderman McClatchy?
Yes, I would move that we approve the consent agenda minus 5B.
Thank you. Second, Alderman Santi?
I will second the motion.
Thank you. Discussion on these items by council? Alderman Glad.
Yeah, just on the fabulous Fox Water Trail resolution. My concerns there more than anything else, it doesn't say anything in the packet, but is there any costs to the city in the long run here?
That's a good question. And I've got the same information I gave you everything. I have had no more contact with that group than what I've sent you, other than I sent them a message and said, hey, I passed this along to some of our directors. Nobody had a problem with it. We'll pick it to council tonight to vote on it. And that's all I've told them. And they said, okay, thank you. We'll wait to hear from you more. So that's all I've got. Ross might have something to say.
Yeah, so I spoke with them, basically, their policy is that they have to have the resolution done before they can include it in their literature and paperwork, to advertise, and so there's nothing that was explained to me that there was any cost, but they have to have acknowledgement from the community that it's going to be in their pamphlets and stuff.
Well, it's already online, City of McHenry, site, they have pictures and everything already online, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pay for anything on my
Right.
budget, so I think that any of us are.
Cost was one thing, the other thing is the fact that, are there any specific regulations to where they will try to regulate anything that we do along the or
I don't think they have any jurisdiction over it.
No, being part of that process, that wasn't the intention.
So they-
It really aligned well with the downtown plan and the Riverwalk plan. They're not looking to impose anything, and they asked for a good deal of input from us to make sure that our desires and wishes were reflected in that, overall in that plan.
Okay, so in other words, it's just basically good advertising for us and hopefully no cost to us, and like I said, I don't want them coming back and say, well, we've gotta do this, or we gotta do it, thanks, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions by council? Seeing none? Clerk, please call roll.
Alderman McClatchy?
Yes.
Alderman Santi?
Yes.
Alderman Glad?
Yes.
Alderman Harding?
Yes.
Alderman Strack?
Yes.
Alderman Devine?
Yes.
Thank you, council. Next item on the agenda is an individual action item. 6A is a school resource officer intergovernmental agreement and budget amendment. Chief Burke, you want to represent?
Thank you, Mayor. Staff is seeking council's authorization for the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with McHenry School District 15 in order to reactivate the school resource officer program for a term of 5 years. As council probably recalls, we had an active school resource officer program in District 15, specifically Parkland School and McHenry Middle School, from the year 2000 until approximately 2009, at which time the program was suspended due to financial issues tied to the recession. After having numerous conversations with District 15 over the course of the last 6 months, we came to a tentative agreement among staff and support to reactivate this program. It was brought before the District 15 School Board last Tuesday and unanimously approved for a term of 5 years with a 70% split. Is what is a copy of the intergovernmental agreement that you have before you. And I'm available to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Open it up, no, I don't know. I'm looking for a motion to approve 6A as presented. Alderman Harding,
I make that motion.
thank you. Second. Alderman Santi,
I will second the motion.
thank you. Discussion by council. Alderman Santi, go ahead.
Chief, when the schools are out, what are the plans for those officers?
They come back to the police department and get reassigned either to patrol or investigations.
Thank you.
Alderman McClatchy, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I'm totally for this, I think it's really good. My question is, do we have these in the high schools too?
We do. We have 2 school resource officers, one at East Campus, one at West Campus right now. And again, that program was suspended back in 2009. We were lucky enough to bring that back to life in 2013. We stepped it in with one SRO and then a second SRO, so they've been successful programs.
Alderman Harding, go ahead.
Any talk on the elementary schools?
In regards to, so the way that, if you read in the actual intergovernmental agreement, the 2 resource officers, they'll be primarily assigned to Parkland, and the middle school will also be available for use at the school district's discretion or our discretion for any incidents that happen at the grade school, the rest of the grade schools, the 6 additional schools obviously in the district. In addition to that, we do have an adopt a school program we've had established for 7 or 8 years now, and that's our day shift officers actually are assigned to specific grade schools to handle incidents as well in those schools. It's been very successful.
How's the list? You have to retest or?
For hiring?
Yeah.
So the way this works is, so this program would start, they would select 2 of our already hired senior officers for these assignments to start in August of 2023, and then we would work to hire 2 replacements sometime after January to get them trained up through the academy. We do have an active list right now. Whether or not there's anybody off that list that's employable this morning, I don't know. We'd have to start that process. We haven't started that process yet, so.
Chief, the timing is based a lot on the academy slots, right?
Yep, yeah, they're very hard to get. We do have a lateral program too, so there's always a chance we can bring somebody in from another department, but, our next academy guaranteed slots aren't until April. So we're trying our best to find one earlier, if it passes.
Any other questions, comments, by council? Alderman Glad, go ahead.
Yeah, so this isn't gonna be until the following, school year?
Correct.
Okay, but they will be picking up the cost starting in January when you hire?
Now, their first installment would be due to us in August. Their first installment would be 70% of the actual officer that's going into the school, not the actual new hire. That would be on us.
Okay. So actually, we're doing the hiring and the training, and then, they're not paying until the time that,
Yeah, they're not, the people we're hiring and training, they're not the people that they're getting, those will be our replacements, because we're giving up the.
Correct. No, I get that, I'm just saying, you know, that, but we do have to hire two people and train them before we, the other two over.
Hopefully.
Which we wouldn't be doing if we didn't have this.
Correct.
And it's a great program, don't get me wrong, I mean.
This move basically puts us back to where our staffing was in 2008, and we had 51 officers. And that's been the only reason we've been at 51 was because of the SRO program. Otherwise, those 4 positions would go away.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna open up for public, input. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a public comment regarding 6A? All right, see none? Clerk, please call roll.
Alderman Harding.
Yes.
Alderman Santi.
Yes.
Alderman Glad.
Yes.
Alderman McClatchy.
Yes.
Alderman Stratt.
Yes.
Alderman Devine.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Next item is a discussion item, an establishment of a business district or business districts for the completion of streetscape improvements. Economic Development Director Martin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Judd. So the purpose of this, item is to introduce the concept of a business district as an additional resource to fund improvements in our downtown areas. To discuss the merits of establishing such districts and to provide staff with direction on the desire to move forward with the establishment of any business district. A business district is basically a contiguous area of land which meets one of several criteria. It has to be blighted, according to the state statute, and there's several different things that could be defined as blighted. A business district is an economic development tool which can be used to revitalize a specific portion of a city or multiple portions of the city. You can have more than one business district in a city at one time. It can be used in assistance funding, specific improvements, infrastructure improvements. In this case, staff's bringing it forward to propose assistance funding streetscape or other public improvements downtown in the Main Street area, and then also in the, I'll call it the TIF district area, of downtown. And because they have to be contiguous areas of land, there would have to be 2 business districts, one to the Main Street area and one to the TIF district area. The business districts are established following the proposal of a business district plan, and the designation of the area. Then there's an ordinance brought before council, and then there's a public hearing date set and a process that goes forth after that. Like TIF districts, business districts can remain in place up to 23 years. They originally came out in the late 70s, but the law was changed pretty drastically in 2010. And one of the things you can do with a business district is generate revenues through the establishment of an additional sales tax, which can be 0.25% up with increments of 0.25% up to 1%. In this case, staff would be suggesting a business district within the current TIF district boundaries, as on Exhibit A, as well as the Main Street district boundaries on Exhibit B, and a 1% sales tax within those areas. Estimating the amount of revenue which could be included within those areas. When I did the Main Street, I incorrectly concluded that Walgreens' whole merchandise could be included, but they can't. The drugs are not included as part of the business district revenue. So it's just licensed and titled by the state is not included in the 1%. So it would be a lot less than the $200,000 I put in the supplement, just for council's edification. The other TIF district, revenue is an estimate of the 1% revenue in that area as of the, most recent sales tax receipts we've had. I did speak with several downtown business owners, just to get their opinions on forming such a district, what they thought of it, and, you know, got some varied opinion, got some suggestions. I saw Kim Rebar, I think, here, I talked to her. So at this time, staff simply presenting this as an option for you to consider, in looking at, an option to fund streetscape improvements. Obviously, this would not fund them completely. The three different, streetscape improvements total about, I think, $8.6 million. So, there would need to be funding from other sources. Council could request additional information or direct staff, to proceed through the process of establishing a business district, if that's the way they want it to go, or I'm free to answer any questions you may have at this time.
I just wanted to add on to that if I could, and I was talking to the mayor for a second, so Doug, you might add this on there. So, you know, we committed as staff to bring council, you know, various opportunities for funding improvements, capital improvements, you know, whether it's maintenance and replacement program, or water sewer, or new projects, and council's considered additional revenue sources over the last 6 months or so, for probably the last year or so, for a lot of those items. And we talked quite a bit recently about downtown in terms of streetscape improvements, and council approved the streetscape program a few months ago. Obviously, the TIF is in place over an area that encompasses Riverside Drive and Green Street, but obviously it does not include Main Street, the Main Street area. And we talked consistently about wanting to ensure that we don't leave Main Street out of the opportunities for the same type of streetscape improvements that we do in other areas of town. And short of establishing another TIF district that encompasses Main Street, which obviously is always an opportunity or an option too, this is just another consideration for council to establish a business district, business improvement district, which whatever one you want to call it, that could encompass Main Street as a separate entity, and then Green Street and Riverside Drive. And similar to the TIF, obviously any revenue generated we can dedicate, or would be dedicated, just to improvements, streetscape improvements within those areas. And we would use the streetscape program as the basis for those of you that were around at the time when a TIF is established. You put together a redevelopment project plan, and the same is required for a business district. So we would include those streetscape improvements in a business district plan as part of consideration for council. So again, we're just bringing it forward to council as an opportunity to discuss, get feedback on. We can research it more, we can bring more information, we can drop it, whatever council's interested in. It's just here as a discussion item tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, council, Alderman Gleb?
Yeah, I want to bring up some of the opinions of some of the business people. I don't think a 0.25% or even a 1% could make a big difference on a lot of the businesses out there. If patrons, let's say whether it's a restaurant, bar, or whatever, if that's the place they like to go, that 1% isn't even going to be a factor at all. It's not like, you know, I need to pick up a gallon of milk, and I know it's cheaper here than there because of sales tax or what have you. You know, it's a total different commodity down there. And as far as, instead of this type of a tax, that we go with a 0.25%, you know, across the board, then you're basically just adding it on to the taxpayers to pay, and not the businesses. So it makes it rough for Main Street because of the fact that they're not in the TIF, so they don't have anything coming in as far as revenue for this, other than the general fund. And you say we don't have that much money, in the general fund to, take it to pay for the entire, revitalization that we'd like to see. And I think at this time, I feel that we need to see if there's other options that can be done before we move forward. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion? All the same?
Just reviewing this, a couple of quick questions, make sure I understand it, everybody, the public understands. The streetscape program that was approved for, Riverside Drive, Green Street, and Main Street, correct? That encompasses all three, correct? Yep. Right. So we have so we have, I don't know, a game plan, maybe like a, just to start with a game plan here, looking at these sections. If there was some form of a tax or, some type of business, district, I don't know if it's like you could define it as like an SSA for just that area. We would be, basically agreeing to also having to look for, whether it be grant money or general fund money, somewhere where we're collecting this amount of money, and then we're taking it and trying to find something else to support this, other revenues, to put into that pot of money to get it even more, because as Deputy Martin explained, you know, our estimates in regards to what we're looking at doing in the long term is far and above the numbers that we estimated of what we're looking at in this possible taxing our business district, like an SSA concept. I would definitely be open to continuing and looking. I believe all of you that presented is like, well, let's look at other options here. What else is out there? But I do like this as a starting point, and I would be, I guess I would be comfortable with looking at something further on down the line with maybe more discussion or more possibly one-on-ones with Deputy Martin, with all of us in regards to see what we can develop and plan and come back as a group at some point in the future. There's different ways of going here. I know tax is not a good word. I personally, right now, today, would be leaning towards upping the sales tax. One thing I do agree, I also agree with Alderman Glad about really not making that much of a difference, but we have to start somewhere, and I think, trying to redevelop those sections, especially that we bring in Main Street into their own compartment and be able to assist them with funding into the streetscape and other aspects of those buildings and that area. And looking at the map, I can see where, we could be grabbing, could be getting some income from those areas, and it's a first step. In my mind, looking at it right now, it's a minor step, but I think it's something that if we're going to go down this path one way or another, we have to start somewhere, and tonight might be that discussion one area to start with. That's all I have right now. Listening to other comments from other elected officials.
Thank you, Mayor.
find a way to fund it, we have to find a way to fund it quicker than this process probably is going to fund it. I just look at these small districts and the incremental increase in the tax is going to take us 20 years to get us to a position where we can actually, this is a big number. It's currently our estimated cost. Let's add 5 years to it, and then we know we're gonna be another $1 million into this project. I think, not that I really wanna raise the sales tax again, but I think if we're going to fund this project, we should be looking at neighboring municipalities' tax rates and seeing if there is an ability for us to raise it across the board. Otherwise, I just think this is going to be a long-term game and probably longer than we're all in for. Thank you.
I'll do that.
Yeah, I know I've talked to a lot of constituents and, a lot of comments have been made as far as the fact that, we've thrown a lot of money into, the downtown area as it is. And so adding sales tax across the board that our residents have to pay, again, they are already paying through the TIF because that is their money that they are paying. When we get TIF money, that's a small iota, but it comes out of everybody's, pocket as far as the property tax. I think, the mayor's gonna hate me for this, but, you know, we've got splash pads that we're doing, maybe, the following year, Rise could be looking at, doing something for, the downtown streetscape. And maybe that would raise some funds, to move things forward quicker. So it's just an idea. Or if not Rise, maybe we find somebody else. I mean, you know, some other charitable way that we could take and raise money.
Hey Troy, how much are you, who remembers what the streetscape improvements for Main Street or the dollar amount was? 3 million? And I guess the other part of that is, and maybe I didn't explain it well enough, or we didn't explain it at all, so I'll take, responsibility for that, but, you know, part of it is looking, just like there are other streetscape improvements for Riverside and Green, I mean, there's no way we could pay $6 million for those over a year, 2 years. So one of the funding mechanisms or opportunities is you bond it, right? And you're paying the bond amount over a certain, so you make the improvements over a couple of years as fast as you can make them by borrowing the money up front, and then you're paying for the bond with revenues generated through, in the case of Riverside and Green Street, TIF revenues, and in this case, or business district revenues, and the same with Main Street, that we would, you know, dedicate the money that would be collected through a business district for the payment of, for a bond payment, basically. So we can make the improvements sooner than over a longer period of time, and then make those. I don't know if the money works out, if the dollars work out, it's $3 million, what that is over 10 years or 20 years, and whether we generate enough revenues for it. But it's part of it, right? If we can throw $100,000 a year at it, that's $100,000 from a business district that doesn't come from someplace else. The other thing I want to, and I'll just ask it, like, if, I mean, this isn't the topic here, but this is just a discussion item, like, does council want to consider a TIF district on Main Street? And we've never asked you the question of a second TIF district, only because of the process that it takes to go through. We're already trying to extend the one on Riverside, Green, and that area, but that's also an opportunity to establish a second TIF district in town, and a path we could go down to. We didn't think that there was interest in it, and maybe that was a wrong assumption on our part.
Me personally, I think the TIF district's the best option, in my personal opinion. I don't think we're gonna get the money through sales tax of 1% to cover a project, even the bond for a $3 million project. I think the community as a whole would be in favor, in my opinion. I don't know how the council feels, but having another TIF, a separate TIF, everyone in the city knows Main Street needs some TLC. And I guess every part of our downtown in one way or another needs it, but I think the second TIF is an option, is a good option. That's my personal opinion. Alderman Glenn?
Yeah, let's go by history of our first TIF. The problem winds up with the TIF is that, you know, right now, the economy across the entire nation is kind of at a shaky point right now. Gas, let's face it, it went up to almost $5 a gallon in this area, and it's dropped significantly, but, you know, the economy and the job market and everything else could crash. I think of when we had the downslide back about 15 years ago now. It took us quite a few years to recover on the first TIF. And otherwise, we would have gotten so much more done with the TIF. But, you know, values went down and property values go down. We're not making any money on the TIF. So, I don't know. The TIF for Main Street might be a possible solution, but I think that's something I'd like to ponder on. You know, again, nobody has a crystal ball to know what the economy's going to do, but that's something that we have to look at. It's an unknown that could be devastating if it doesn't go anywhere.
Just to follow up on the cost question, Main Street is approximately $3 million. The three high priority locations, Riverside, Green, and Main, are all about $3 million.
On the same.
Appreciate the comment, Mayor, about the TIF. I just want to ask staff, when we did the first TIF, can anybody give me an idea of what that time frame was from announcement to actually putting it into motion? You know,
How long did it take us?
yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, we established it in 2002. I believe that it took, and I'm going back to that was right, for my role and when taking that over, it took us about a year to establish that.
Yeah, and then we had to, in that year or more, we had to get buy-in from all other taxing bodies.
Yeah.
So,
And it takes action by state legislature to actually enact it, so.
yeah, exactly, okay. I'm not negative about the TIF, I'm just saying that if there's something we can move on that we can possibly proceed in less than 24 months, I guess I'd be willing to go down that path first, look at that path, other than a TIF.
I think, I mean, just from a timeline, I guess, and knowing kind of what we're going through, even from an extension point of view, it would take us to work, have everything ready to present to the state legislature, basically January, December of 2023, January 2024, and then who knows when it gets on the slate, or anytime between January and April, when that session is in, that's when it would be voted upon to enact the TIF district. So anywhere between January and April of 2024 before you see some action on an additional TIF district.
Yeah, that's the timeframe there is my concern, is that, you know, is there other avenues that we can look at that we can move faster than 24 months? That's my thoughts.
Isn't it reimbursable too? So let's say we do some projects on Main Street, and in the meantime, once the TIF is
Conflicts established.
on the strike.
And I'm not sure who this question would ride to, probably Derek is my guess, but what's the timeline on a business district? It's not a ton less work, correct? It is. It is a lot less.
It's a lot less.
It'll be 90 days versus a year and a half.
There's no, because it's sales tax based, there's no, other jurisdictions that are.
We control it. Got it. So it's all just inside our walls. Okay, thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. The city were to take and establish, the downtown districts, business districts, it does not force us to do anything as far as, other than having that district created, correct? So in other words, if we move forward with that, in the very near future, even if we decide not to use it, granted, it might be a little bit of legwork, but, at least something moving forward there. And again, this isn't, you know, with the streetscape, it's not gonna be something that's gonna be funded by one tool. So we need to look at all different avenues. We've got time to look at other avenues as long as we start putting the first foot forward and moving on something. So maybe creating a business district would be a good idea. Maybe bring council next time around with that. And maybe we look at different funding ideas that Administrator Warfield could take and give us some better numbers down the road, different ideas of what we can do and where the funding would come from and different options. And I'm not saying necessarily you'd have it all put together in the next meeting, but maybe we continue to discuss it. And if it takes 3 or 4 times to discuss this at meetings, so be it. You know, the more we discuss it together, the more ideas that everybody has, the better product we'll have.
Sure, yeah, that's not a problem.
I think the biggest part for me is, you know, I'm all for the 1%, even as a business owner, on Green Street or whatever the case may be. I don't think it's fair to have one part of town pay for it and almost deter people from going there if it's 1% more. Some people are just frugal, and I think the 1% would actually end up hurting the businesses unless you do the entire business district as a whole, Green Street, Riverside, and
So without
Main.
one on.
I think you have to be fair about it. I think it's gotta be in the entire downtown where all that money can then, and let's face it, there's bigger businesses in certain areas of town in the downtown. On Main Street, I don't know what the revenue would be even at 1%. I mean, 1% would be minimal, like, compared to an actual bond payment, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm just going off the numbers that I would know for sales tax. I don't think it would be that big. Am I out of line with that,
Just
Carolyn?
right at 100, we would need at least 200 to pay $3 million.
You're never gonna get that with that. I mean, a business doing 58,000 or 55,000 a month in sales tax and add 1%, you're at $550. I mean, you need a lot of big businesses doing big dollars. Now, Walgreens is a large amount of
Yeah,
that.
the problem with Walgreens is what we were looking
Right.
at, is their, prescription drug is the biggest part. You only get 1%, you don't get any of your additional taxes on that.
So part of me thinks that if we did 2 and made it fair for everyone to make our entire downtown district as a whole, including Main, Riverside, and Green, I think that's a better option. I don't think it's right to hurt a business because their infrastructure needs more than others. That's just my personal opinion. And I think you're right. I mean, I think there's opportunities for getting some funding, whether it's through, you know, organizations like Rise Up or something like that, at least to get it started. But I just don't think it's right for one part of town to have sales tax and the others not. That's all this right.
Is there an opportunity for us to look at those bond costs? So just some generals, just to understand what that looks like for the next time.
Yeah, I
You know,
can
Carolyn,
actually
you
have
got-
them run up. Because obviously our streets are probably wrong compared to what we
Sure.
have issued a bond in quite a few years now. But yeah, I can have them run a dummy.
Just a scenario of what that would look like. So we have, because right now, I mean, I wouldn't know what that payment looks like to understand how long it would take us to fund that and what kind of sales revenue we would take to pay that payment. Really, when we look at that math, we probably have a different decision to make, but thank you, Carolyn, for sure.
I'll look like you go.
What would be the timeline on selling municipal bonds?
It would take about 6 months, probably, to get it all settled.
I think ultimately the tip is, I'll say it, the tip is the right move. Even though it takes a little bit of time, I think we do it right. And I think the tip is we have the meeting with the school districts, the library, whatever the case may be. We have the support from whatever we want to do to partner with the school districts, the other taxing bodies, get it started, and let's get it tip done. That's the right way to go. Because there's going to be reoccurring costs. There's going to be things that you're going to want to do down the road. There's going to be businesses that want to move on Main Street. There's going to be the train station. There's going to be other projects. Without that tip, you're just going to be spending money at a bond that really doesn't. I mean, look at the roads you did bonds 20-something years ago. and you're still paying one more year left, and those roads all need to be redone, you know, a couple years back. I mean, I just don't think the bond's right. I think it's putting the city in more debt versus getting the partnerships with the other taxing bodies. And let's face it, we're growing every single year, year over year. I think it's important that the other taxing bodies get a partnership in this, and I think we have that kind of partnership with other taxing bodies.
What we can do is bring back kind of a couple pieces of information. The potential costs for streetscape improvements on Green and Riverside and then Main Street as two separate business districts, and what the payments would be, or better estimates, or what the estimates closer on tax generation. And then also as a separate thing, but part of the same discussion, more information about TIF. You know, we can take a look at potential boundaries for a TIF on Main Street. We can try to generate some property tax, base information, for council, and obviously it's the increment on the property tax, from that base that creates that revenue source, within that area. So we can try to give you some, estimates on that too. I mean, ultimately, when you establish a TIF, you hire a financial advisor that does all that, but we have enough information, we can at least put together what the base is and some percentage increases based on our existing TIF and kind of what's happened over time, knowing that for 10 years it was in decline, but at least get all that for council, so you could look at either or both, or whatever you want to take a look at, or either one of them, and we move on to something else, but drill down on that information a little more for you.
We could even go as far as talking to the superintendents and kind of get some feedback from them on how they even feel about this. It takes a few minutes to have a conversation with them. We meet them on a regular basis. So I mean, I think we just met them a couple weeks back. So, but we can always just make a phone call and kind of see where their head is on it. And I think that's something we should do first before doing anything else. Sure. So, Alderman Strack.
Alderman Glapp's point on the TIF, I would agree that, the TIF might be the right angle, but looking at the future values in the next, let's call it 10 years, what does that generate if the market flattens for us? 2 years for us to get it done, and if market values hold where they are, now there's not a big enough incremental increase for the TIF to fund it heavily as well. So just wanted to make that comment as well, thinking that long-term out is a little bit tougher as well.
But on that Main Street TIF, we've looked at that, Cody and I have kind of looked at the boundaries of that TIF, and we would want to incorporate a good portion of Route 31, all the way down to the library, the Roller Rink site, the Quonset Hut site, so properties that are due for redevelopment. We want to incorporate all of those into that TIF, so it wouldn't just be the Main Street area. We want to go much larger.
Well, then that gives me a different perspective. Thank you, Russ.
So let's bring some information back. Thank you.
Thanks for your input, appreciate it.
All right, next item on the agenda is an executive session. I'm going to move that to before the adjournment of the meeting. We're going to go ahead and keep going. Staff reports.
I'll let you speak on what happened over the weekend. But coming up this weekend, we light the night. We have first time this season that we light the fire globes. We'll have a couple of bands down there and some food trucks on Middle Point. So from 4 to 10, there also will be a very brief fireworks display to end that evening. When I say brief, it'll probably be like just a finale, like we did last year. It's probably less than 10 minutes, but just something to conclude that event. We've had some new sponsorship there as part of that event. So this Saturday, Middle Point, 4 to 10.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill. Any other staff reports? All right. I'll kind of give an update. Obviously, we had a big event this past weekend. It was a huge success. A lot of hours, volunteers to sponsors, city staff, public works, police department. Chief was out there. Hobson was out there. It was nonstop lifting, and I'm sore and I'm very tired. I'm I'm already out of shape, but administration was out there, council members were out there volunteering. You know, I want to thank all of you. We had roughly 3,500, I'm not right, or maybe the chief knows just because my head is in the game right now, but I think it was 3,500 on Friday and about 7,500 on Saturday. So in the 11,000 people, I will tell you, and we've had people from Iowa, other states, we had an email from several people that visited the town that's never even heard of McHenry, which is great, that's what we want. We want people to kind of see what we do different than any other community. And, you know, when I'm on that, Doug, if you can go ahead and get the cell phone data from that event, then we can kind of track to see where those individuals came from, it's a little easier than emails and all that. Then that data can be supplied to council. You know, just in liquor alone, we ran over $250,000 in liquor on Friday and Saturday night alone. By far I don't know if you just want to call it the best numbers, but for us, it's the best numbers that Miller has ever had. We beat the record. And very minimal issues, you know, and I think that's important. Obviously, when you put on a show like this, it's liquor sales. I mean, it is, but you want to have a safe event. You don't want issues. This crowd, and the chief can speak to it maybe here, but we had very minimal issues for an event this big. I'm hoping that we get numbers here in the next week. There's still bills coming in and revenues coming in, unfortunately, both part. But, you know, I think we raised $45,000 on 8 guitars that were signed by all the artists. So I asked 8 businesses to pay $5,000 a piece at the event, and within 5 minutes, we raised $45,000. So I know for a fact we're going to be over last year's number. I just don't know how far, and I'm hoping 100, 150,000 far. So I'll get numbers as quickly as possible. But once again, I want to thank not only my wife and family for dealing with all my stupid ideas that do work, and it worked here. But I want to thank all the public that showed up, friends, family that get involved in my stupid ideas again. I'm surprised I haven't lost them. But it was a lot of work, but the production on this show was stellar. So thank you all for the support of the council and staff, so thank you. City council comments. Alderman McClatchy?
Yeah, I'd like to congratulate you. McHenry's always been on the map, but you've made it glow this weekend, so hats off to you. Also, I talked to the owner of Bike Haven the other day. They're selling the business. We're still gonna have a bike shop there. They're gonna keep the employees. So, he's got 6 other bike shops, so he's basically giving us up, and, sounds like the new owners are ready to roll. So.
Perfect. Any other city council comments? Oh, I'm glad you have some. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna comment, as far as, you know, I had discussions with, Ross Power, as far as, our ordinances on dead trees. And, I don't know if council's aware of that or not, but, if your neighbor next door has a dead tree in their yard, unless it is deemed by our forestry as far as, where it is a danger to somebody else's property or health, we have no ordinances to make anybody bring it down. Somebody could be looking at a dead tree for years. Plus the fact that if it deteriorates, you know, I don't care how good of a botanist you are or whatever, I mean, you never know, with a storm or whatever, when you have a dead tree, it's a lot weaker than a live tree. And, if it falls, and it falls on your neighbor's lot, because it has a property line, the rest is yours, and then you become the problem. So, I know Ross said that he was gonna be looking at it in the next few weeks, and bringing something forward as far as, a little stronger, ordinance, to where we, we don't wanna hammer the person that's got the dead tree, but we wanna protect those neighbors that are around it as well.
Any other city council comments? Okay, at this time, I would ask that the public please remove yourselves for an executive session. It'll be about 5 minutes or so, a real quick one, and then we'll go ahead and open it back, doors back up, and can adjourn the meeting. I'm looking for a motion to enter executive session. Alderman Strack. Motion. Second, Alderman Santi. Second. Thank you.
Discuss the purchase of.
Oh, there you go. To discuss the purchase and, lease of real estate property for the use of public funds. Roll call, please.
Alderman Stratt,
Yes.
Alderman Santi,
Yes.
Alderman Glad,
Here.
Alderman McClatchy,
Yes.
Alderman Harding,
Here.
Alderman Devine.
Here.
We're going back to the meeting.
We got that vote, then a roll call?
Yeah, we gotta go back.
We're in, we're back in the meeting.
We didn't vote.
Right, so,
Voted
Monty,
to
are
get
you
me
on the
executive.
board here?
Monty, what do we gotta do here?
Did you stop the tape recording?
Technically, when you come back, you're supposed to do another roll call.
Right.
Hey,
Clerk's always right, I guess.
David.
no, my question was, is Monty ready?
Oh, yeah.
You don't stop the
Everybody's
tape?
in, the recording's going again.
Same recording? Okay.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, roll call.
Alderman Santi,
Here.
Alderman Glad,
Here.
Alderman McClatchy,
Here.
Alderman Harding,
Here.
Alderman Stratt,
Here.
Alderman Devine,
Here.
Alderman Miller is absent.
Thank you. Looking for a motion, second to adjourn. Alderman Santi.
I will make that motion.
Thank you. Alderman McClatchy.
I'll second.
Thank you. Clerk, please call roll.
Alderman Santi,
Yes.
Alderman
Yes.
McClatchy, Alderman Glad,
Yes.
Alderman Harding,
Yes.
Alderman Stratt,
Yes.
Alderman Devine,